How's it going, everybody? I figured I would do another life video and pick up from where I left off. So, I graduated high school in Vienna, Austria. I was there all 4 years, 9th to 12th grade. And then after that, I decided to take a year off and go with my parents to Lome Togo. That's in West Africa. It's by Ghana. It's a ex-French colony, so they speak French. They have francs for their currency. And overall, it's a typical French ex-colony. The French, a lot of times, well, no, every time, pretty much used the place they were colonizing and just used them. Didn't really give back. Like you go over next door to Ghana. Ghana is an ex-British colony. Ghana's a lot nicer. A little bit more infrastructure. They kind of try to make their colonies like England, to be honest. They did. They try to give back in a way. And while they were living there, make it like it was in England. You know, a little bit more culture and blah, blah, blah. Just a lot nicer. Now, in Togo, being a French ex-colony, they were pretty horrible. It's pretty nasty. It's dirty. They're not as well educated. They obviously speak French. Not saying that's a bad thing, just saying. Togo, Lome Togo, was kind of a dump. And it doesn't help when you have a dictator and who's in power. He's still in power. I believe he is. I think I looked him up a couple years ago and he was still in power, Iadima. And at one point there was a coup d'etat and people rose up against him, and obviously he squashed that, but they rose up in Lome and did a bunch of burning and destroyed stuff and this and that. And it's very tribal too. It's very tribal there. And in that I mean that people from different villages, even to this day, go by where they're from as far as which village. So Iadima is from the north. So that's a totally different system up there, basically, than in the south, where the capital is, where Lome is located on the ocean there. And like I said, it's very tribal. People go back to what tribe they are from and where they're at and all this. And that all depends where you're at in the country and whether these tribes were working together or not. So Iadima's from the north, and he pretty much employs people from the north to work in Lome to control things. Plus, he has I don't know how many kids. You can Wikipedia. It's some ungodly number of kids and wives. And obviously, he didn't have all these kids with one woman. I don't know. It's like 90 kids or some crazy amount. And of course, they run everything and are in power in leadership roles, if you will. And they just take from the country. That is how it is. And most people are probably going to be like, Mark, well, that's how it is in most dictatorships. Yeah, the thing is, as a dictator, you could give back to your country and have a beautiful country and just be a dictator and still be in power and still have wealth and rule over the people and have power. But yet most dictators tend to take to the point of that the people are starving and there's garbage on the street. They don't pave streets. They don't take care of their infrastructure. Well, they don't even build any new infrastructure. So like when the coup d'etat happened, there was I guess a nice zoo, and they pretty much killed the people, stupid people, killed all the animals except the crocodiles because they were afraid of those. And those were still there when I was there. And at the time you could go there and you could buy a whole goat and throw the goat into the crocodiles. I never did that. I heard stories about it. There was hotels, big, huge hotels along the beach because it's on an ocean. It used to be kind of a tourist destination, from Europe. It's not that far. You go there, it's cheap. Stay in a nice hotel on a beach, have a nice beach. And those were all pretty much looted, burned, and what have you. So they were just skeleton remains of big hotels. I think there was one hotel while we lived there that was still kind of open, if you want to call it open. They had horseback rentals. So we would go and rent horses and ride them on the beach. Their horses were pretty much starving to death. So we had renting horses from a different guy. He was, I believe, an English teacher or something at the British school there in Lome. And he had horses, so we would just go rent horses from him. He took care of his horses. He had a little place on the beach as far as the stable and just took care of them. And his prices were no different than the hotels. This is just he took care of his animals, which was nice. They weren't starving. They were fed. He would, give them medicine if they got sick and all that good stuff. He didn't treat them just as a way to make money like the hotel did and not worry about the animal itself. Totally different way of living there. There used to be this like little kid that lived in like a little, literally, a hut, a cardboard box, if you will, about the size, a little hut, not far from that stable, and so on the beach pretty much. And he would come over, wander over, and he must have been like 5 or 6. So we just started, every time we would go, we would just bring a Coca-Cola and give him a Coke. And to him, that was like the biggest treat ever, big smile on his face. So happy to get something that there's no way they were going to afford a Coca-Cola. No way. And that's just pretty much, how people live there. It's pretty run down. There's a totally different way of thinking. While I was there, I worked at the embassy. So I worked at the embassy for, I don't know, 2-3 months while I was there. I wasn't quite there for a whole year, but I probably worked for like 2-3 months at the embassy, and I did inventory, and they had a big theft problem with the locals that were in the warehouse. So they had fired a bunch of people, and they needed me to go in and count everything, see what they had, because no one knew. So I had to make a list of everything that was in the warehouse. Then I had to go through some, so outdated government software. And at the time it was new because I knew computers, data entry, all this stuff. And I had to make up categories. I mean, there was various, I had to give numbers to stuff, assign numbers in categories and this and that. And I'm like, man, I'm just out of high school and it seemed pretty a lot of responsibility for somebody just out of high school. But I did it. I have a sick sense of humor, so like there's coffins in the warehouse. If I die, my father dies, ambassador dies, whoever dies, there's a coffin to put the body in, and they get flown back to the States. And I had to come up with an inventory number with that. Oh, guess what number I picked? 666. Oh, now I look back, that wasn't right. But, I'm just out of high school. I'm like, I have to give a number for this? Okay. And of course, no one questioned me or anything. No one knew what I was doing or anything. But basically, it was keeping track of the inventory and just accountability for it. I came across like a huge, huge box of Jack Daniels. It's like, hey, there's Jack Daniels back here. Like, does anyone know? And they were like, oh, well, we use that for like, no, A, we didn't know it was there, but B, it's not unusual, because I thought it was unusual. It's not unusual. It's for like if, we're whining and dining, say, the dictator or somebody else in power or whatever, the ambassador can be like, hey, here's a bottle of Jack Daniels. So kind of a gratuity type gift, that's uniquely is American. Okay. But there was weird stuff in the inventory that they had no idea. There was like, I can remember a ski rope from like 1960s. Like, really? Shouldn't we be going through and throwing this stuff away? Oh, no. Let's just put it in the inventory, put it in the system, and call it good. Like, no one wanted to go through stuff. Maybe it's more paperwork. I don't know. But it seemed ridiculous that the old stuff we would have in a room that we're storing for no reason. Because maybe at one time the embassy had a boat. don't have a boat anymore type thing, you know. Maybe on Lake Togo, the ambassador had a house at one time, a beach house. Now they don't. Hence, maybe had a boat there. Now they don't. So stuff that could be thrown away. So I did that. I also worked for my father's office for a bit and kind of just cleaned up their storeroom for telecommunication stuff. Goofed off some, but yeah, that's pretty much what I did. Basically, I was saving money, and yeah, and government pays well for even summer jobs. 12, $15 an hour. That's normal. I bet now they pay summer employees, which tend to be high schoolers or even college age, and they probably pay them $20 an hour. I bet they do. I bet they do now. I mean, they paid that back in early 90s to late 90s. So making $15 an hour working for the government. And the time counts towards retirement. If I were continued on with a federal government career, that time would go towards retirement and getting a pension from the government. But it's nice that you do that. Now, understand that they hire summer students or students in the summer, whether it's high school or college age, coming to visit. They'll get you in because they have an X amount of budget they can do that. Now, there's been times where there wasn't enough budget to cover all the people, and then that's when you know if you have a good ambassador or not. Now, there's been ambassadors that don't care. Like Swanee Hunt in Austria. She didn't care. But the career ambassador before her, you know what he did because there wasn't enough money? He pulled out his checkbook and wrote a check for, $100,000. That is what somebody does that cares. Somebody that's there for political reasons because they're appointed by Bill Clinton, like Swanee Hunt, they don't care. They don't give a damn. They think everything revolves around them. They grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. But I digress. Go back to Togo. You can tell my pet peeve sometimes. But Togo was a pretty fun place, pretty interesting place. Met a lot of people. It was fun. Hung out with the Marines, played basketball. There was a rec center. You could swim, you could play basketball. I think they had TV and movies, and you could order basic foods. So like a little restaurant on site, which was nice. So you could order a Coke, you had to pay for that, and your sandwich and stuff. But it was just a fun place to hang out. And I think you paid per time going or something. I don't quite remember how that works, but it was fun. You had a place to go to relax. That was used by the Marine Security Guard Detachment and by employees of the embassy. And the embassy was, it was small. I can remember when Bill Clinton didn't finance the government and the government was shut down. It was shut down for a while. And it was funny because all these prima donnas that work at the embassy, oh, I can't believe I'm not important. They're giving me paid time off from work because you're going to get your back pay. When the government shuts down, it's not like you don't never get paid. They have always given the back pay. So you're getting free vacation time. Well, my father's like, he's essential. So he has to go in, work for free while everybody else is off. And they're complaining because, oh, well, I'm important. Why am I not on the list to work? Because they actually put out a list of who had to come in. Oh, man, the crybabies. That's the type of environment you get with the State Department. People don't understand that. The other things you find out when you work for the Department of State and at a U.S. embassy is the ass kissing. The ass kissing is over the top. No, I mean it is over the top. Like the ambassador one morning goes, hey, well, he had like a continuous roll, fax roll. He's like, well, I wish it was individual pages. somebody ordered a fax. Then he goes, what is this? I like the continuous roll. You know, it was hilarious. He mentioned once how he didn't like his chair. So they bought all these new chairs. And he goes, I want my old chair back. So there was like this $3,000 chair floating around, like from offices, because people were like, well, I already have a chair. I don't want another chair. And even if it's fancy, you know, it was just the waste of money is just unsightly. And if a president says, I'm coming to visit at a U.S. embassy, the money that is spent buying new flags, new chairs, new office furniture, new this, new that, just to impress is disgusting. And I'll get to that later with Moscow, Russia. But, you know, we'll stay with Lome Togo. So I was there like 3 months, but then I went back to visit my parents. My parents were there on a 2-year assignment. So because I was college age, I could go back. So I did go visit them again while they were there, and actually moved back stateside with them. Well, they were going to their next assignment, but I, you know, stayed and flew back with them stateside and what have you. And that's a pretty long flight, because we went from, I believe it was like from Togo to, I want to say Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam to either JFK, New York, or right to Detroit. I don't remember if we had to take the puddle jumper from JFK to Detroit. That's taken that quite a bit, and we might have, because I kind of recall possibly. But yeah, it was a long flight, as you can imagine. When I went back, that was a long flight to visit for the following summer. And it was, yeah, a long flight, but because government pays for open-ended tickets for students, because don't know when I'll come or go, it's like a crazy price. It was like a $3,000 one-way ticket, and at the counter, so if you're college age and you see my video and you're going to go visit your parents and you're in the State Department and you have that ticket, at the counter, ask them how much to upgrade it to business or first class. It was $200 only to upgrade it. And the lady at the counter goes, well, that's one way, but if you would have the return ticket, it was $200. It didn't change the cost. I was like, oh, because I only have the one-way ticket, so it was $200. And hell yeah, I upgraded it for that long of a flight. It was the best ever to upgrade for $200 all the way to go to business class. In fact, it might have even been first class. I don't even remember. But I sat on the top level of the 777 or 747, right? Upper deck. So I sat up there. That was nice. Got drinks. Service is just awesome. Lots of luggage area. There's actually luggage space between, there was 2 seats. So I just sat on the outer seat, but there was a bin you opened up next to the window, next to the fuselage, that you opened up and you could put your suitcase in there. A big bin. I mean, plenty of storage room. You know, they act like there's not enough storage room in coach. There's storage throughout the whole plane, really. That was just a fun thing to do, was to upgrade. I'm glad I did. It was awesome. And also you get kind of priority. And I got to use like the lounges too in the airport. So, Togo was a fun place, interesting place. And, you know, I'm glad I got to see it. Glad I got to experience it. Met a lot of good people at the time. It was a load of fun. And yeah, I mean, would I go back? Probably not as a tourist. I have no inclination to visit third world countries. I know some people love to do that. They want to see every place. That's their goal. That's their hobby. More power to you. Been there, done it. Don't want to do it anymore. Because this video is getting quite long, I'll probably break it up to like how we lived there and stuff, because people might find that interesting, and it is quite frankly interesting. So hopefully you liked the video. Please like, subscribe, and check out my other videos. Hit that notification bell. And hey, I'm just making these for fun and for maybe my daughter in the future will just want to hear her dad talk about where he lived. That's what has me motivated to make these life videos. And I don't script it, so it's not scripted. I might do a few retakes, but that's about it. Anyways, have a good one. Take care.